Hi guys, welcome to my channel, and thanks so much for liking, subscribing. And if you're here and you haven't liked and subscribed, please guys do the right thing. Go to that like button, subscribe, drop a comment if there's any comment, and if there's any part of the content that you wish me to re-explain that you didn't get through correctly. So remember, if you want the study guide from UNISA, you have to go to the Telegram groups and you'll find it there. Download it for yourself and it would enrich you greatly. I really recommend you go and do it. But auditing is not also like that much of a dynamic module where you'll be expecting new things to be coming out. Yes, they do update every now and again, but I'm sure by the time you are looking at this content, it will still be relevant for you. And it will still be helpful even if you have an updated version of the study guide. So the study guide that you're going to come across is going to be on Telegram groups AUE 1501 2021. And we're going to be talking about Learning Unit 11. And by now, I'm confident that you've at least played from the beginning. And you played from the beginning. And now you have played from 1 to 10 and you're at 11. So please do not skip because it's a build-up. And the things that I'll be doing, I'll be making reference to the previous videos I've made, so it will not be beneficial for you to just listen into just this one part and you won't get much help. So they're now wanting to establish the relationship between internal auditors and external auditors. So when they're now talking about it, remember we spoke briefly about it when you're talking about the comparison between internal and external from an internal auditor point of perspective. So now I'm going to do the same thing, but from an external auditor point of perspective. So for you to understand this thing, external is the key word. So the first word that they have there, which is key, which you have to understand, is the word external. External is simply saying you are not within the organization. So externally, you are outside, meaning when you take the payroll records of the company, when you look from the first employee to the last employee, you are not there, which means you are not you are not a salaried worker, you are outside. External is an outside end. So you're an auditor, but you are operating from outside. So for you to get the differences easily, you can go to the table that they have there, which is reference Adam, Diane, Richard 2019, right? So they have a difference between internal auditors and external auditors. We can just quickly run through them. So the external auditor, they obtain mandate through legislation. So sometimes the company is actually imposed by law to be externally audited or to have audited statements which have to be done by the external party. For instance, you need to have what you call it. For instance, SARS might require, because of the turnover that you are saying you are now projecting, we need your financials to be audited externally. The public interest score, remember, the moment your PSI is above 350, you need an external auditor to come and execute a function there. So they obtain their mandate through registration. They perform an attestation function. Okay, everyone performs an attestation function. Then the internal auditors, they then perform a management function. Remember, these guys internally, they are reporting mainly to management. Externally, you're reporting to shareholders and other external stakeholders. They report to shareholders. We've just talked about it. Function independently from the organization, meaning you are not part of the salary. So you can do whatever you want. You can put managers on blast, you can put anyone on blast, you can do whatever you want. You are not really bound. You can't be threatened by saying, okay, I'm gonna fire you, or I'm going to dismiss you if you do these things that I don't like, and wada. You don't really have that. You can just look, you have the privilege of looking at things at face value as they are, with all impartiality, if you want to call it impartiality. External auditors work primarily with those financial systems and what have you. Internal, it covers everything. External, you are mainly looking at the finance side of things. Okay, then external audit tends to be a year-end process, even though some testing might be done during the year. What they mean is most likely, most of the times, auditors prefer coming at the end of the year because they know a lot tends to happen at the end of the year. So if it happens in their presence, they can easily detect and easily see, as in comparison to being there the whole time and being absent at year end. At year end, a lot of drama tends to happen. So they want to be present to see what is happening. Are things being done correctly? you are registered with the RA, right? You are registered with the RA, and you are not registered with the RA as an internal auditor. You are registered with the IIA. So internal audit, remember, this is a staff member, which means it's going to be there throughout the year. These guys are only going to be coming at year end. They want to see if the year end procedures are done correctly. Remember, at year end, that's when we have opening and closing balances. You're going to come across that concept in FAC, and you understand the importance as you do auditing, because if your closing balance is going to be wrong, meaning your opening is going to be wrong. So they affect each other. So at least if the auditor is going to be there to see, okay, these guys are saying the assets are 1 million, closing meaning the opening has to be 1 million, and you can also go and watch. You can also see, okay, is the asset there, is the asset not there, are they being truthful, or are they just talking out of wherever, are they just making the figures out of thin air? So there are similarities, right? So the similarities between these two guys, remember, it's still auditing externally, internally. To an extent, the difference is just the same, as one might say. The way they test, right? The way that they test, or the way that they carry out the testing. Remember, these guys are learning from most likely the same concepts. So the way they teach internal auditors to test most likely is going to be the same way they're going to teach the external auditors to test. But the difference is this one is not going to be within the organization. The other one is going to be within the organization. So the internal control system, how they assess and see internal control system, it's standard. It's gonna be standard for both, right? The standards for the professions, remember, for the internal auditors, there were 4. External, there were 5, because we added professional. The other one that we added, professional, you have to be professional in the things that you do. So the standards, they are going to be now more for the external, and the less for the internal guy, but still, they are still similar. These are the principles that they operate and which are governed by. They are still similar. Cooperation, both seek active cooperation, because you can't just come, and you need management to participate either ways. In between, you need the employees to give you the information that you'll be requiring as you are doing inquiries. Reporting, they both produce audit reports, because the internal auditor is still going to report to management. The shareholder, the external one is going to report to the shareholders, but they're all going to be giving reports, meaning they're all doing the same thing. They're all there to report. So relying on the work of the internal auditor, that's where things tend to go south there. So they are saying, because of the similarities, external auditors can rely on the work of an internal auditor, right? But as you rely, if you wish to, so you have to also see, is the internal auditor, what is this? Is the internal auditor going to be objective? Is the internal auditor competent? Is the internal auditor a person of integrity? If they check all boxes, and you have to also ask, what is the attitude of the audit committee towards the internal audit function? If they are giving them enough power for them to execute their duties correctly, you can then proceed and rely on the information being produced by the internal auditor. But if you see that the internal auditor, to an extent, is exhibiting moments of bias, is exhibiting a whole lot of things, is also intimidated and threatened, and is also not really free, then you know the work that they are producing there is not work which can be relied on. So you just have to be careful on that front. But when it comes to the differences are tabulated on your study guide. Go through the differences, but the key guidance there: internal, this is a salaried person, you have them within your business. External, this is a person who's outside of the business, but they are still performing same function. How they are going to be testing, they're going to test the same, testing the evidence, because remember, you have to gather evidence. How they're going to be gathering this evidence and how they're going to be testing for it, they're going to be similarities there. The control systems, how they interpret the control systems, they're going to be similarities there. The standards applicable to them, they're going to be similarities there. This one is an auditor, this one is an auditor. So most of the things, they are going to be very much similar. But before you then take a step of relying on the work that is being done, look at the attitude of management towards the audit function. Are they free? Are they indeed independent? Of course, they depend on the company for a salary, but are they to a greater extent independent? If management has made it possible for them to be independent, then you can as well rely on the work that they're going to produce. So that brings us to the end of topic 3, learning unit 11. Thank you so much, guys, and remember to like, subscribe, drop a comment, and if you do require one-on-one classes, please do let me know. Do give me a buzz on the number on the description, on the channel description, as well as send me a message if you want guest tutoring when I come to you and your group of friends and what we'll make the arrangement. Do let me know. Or you want Zooms, one-on-ones and all those things, that's private and is not public and what, and we re-explain the concepts and other things that you might want. Please also do let me know so that we make that arrangement. So thank you so much, and remember to like, subscribe. All the best with your studies.